So, picture this. The leader of the free world isn't a person in a suit, but a server humming away in a secure climate-controlled bunker. That's the wild idea behind an AI president. We're not talking about your phone's assistant accidentally ordering 1,000 pizzas for the White House. This would be an incredibly advanced artificial general intelligence, or AGI, designed specifically for governance. Its job would be to analyze enormous amounts of data, from economic reports and climate models to public opinion polls and international relations, to make the most logical, data-driven decisions for the country. It would be the ultimate technocrat, a mind of pure logic and processing power. How would it even work? Well, theoretically, this AI leader would be connected to every government department, receiving real-time information on everything. Think of it like a central nervous system for the entire nation. When a crisis hits, like a hurricane or a stock market crash, it wouldn't need to wait for briefings. It would already have all the data, running millions of simulations in seconds to find the best possible response. It could draft legislation, manage the national budget, and conduct diplomacy based on probabilities and optimal outcomes, all without ever needing a coffee break or a vacation. It's an idea lifted straight from science fiction, but one that people are starting to talk about seriously. The core concept is to remove the messy, unpredictable human element from the highest office in the land. Humans, as we know, can be swayed by ego, emotion, fatigue, or even a bad breakfast. An AI president, in theory, would be free from all of that. It wouldn't have personal ambitions, it couldn't be blackmailed, and it wouldn't favor one group of people over another because of personal relationships or political debts. Its only goal would be the one programmed into it, to maximize the well-being and prosperity of the nation according to a defined set of ethical principles and constitutional laws. The promise is a government run with perfect, impartial rationality. Of course, this isn't just about replacing one person. It's about rethinking what leadership even means. Would a country be led by an algorithm? Would it still feel like a democracy if the ultimate decision-maker was a machine? As we stand here on June 18, 2025, with governments like South Korea creating new AI-focused roles in their presidential offices, we're already seeing the first tentative steps. These aren't AI presidents, not even close, but they show that world leaders are recognizing that AI is becoming a powerful tool of statecraft. The question is no longer if AI will play a role in government, but how big that role will be. Let's talk about the potential benefits, because they are pretty tempting. First and foremost is efficiency. A human administration can get bogged down in bureaucracy, endless meetings, and political gridlock. An AI president could process information and make decisions at a speed we can barely comprehend. It could analyze the entire tax code in a minute to find loopholes, evaluate the impact of a proposed trade deal on every single industry simultaneously, and manage the logistics of a nationwide infrastructure project without a single spreadsheet error. It would be available 24/7, 365, always operating at peak performance. This could lead to a government that is incredibly responsive and effective. Another huge selling point is the promise of unbiased decision-making. Humans are walking bundles of biases, whether we admit it or not. We have subconscious preferences based on our background, our experiences, and the people we know. An AI, if programmed correctly, could be truly impartial. It wouldn't care about a lobbyist's charm or a political party's agenda. When deciding where to build a new hospital, it would base its decision purely on data, population density, health statistics, and traffic patterns. It would allocate disaster relief funds based on measured need, not on which state has more political influence. This could lead to a fairer, more equitable society for everyone. Then there's the idea of a leader with perfect memory and boundless knowledge. An AI president would have instantaneous access to all of recorded history, every law ever passed, and every economic theory ever proposed. When facing a new international crisis, it could instantly analyze every similar situation from the past to predict the most likely outcomes of different actions. It wouldn't repeat past mistakes simply because it forgot about them or never learned them in the first place. This historical and legal omniscience could prevent blunders and lead to more stable, long-term policy making that builds on generations of accumulated wisdom. rather than just the 4 to 8 year memory of a human administration. Finally, think about the strategic advantages. In a world where nations are competing, especially in technology, having an AI at the helm could be seen as the ultimate edge. As we see in the current geopolitical landscape, leaders are already talking about winning the AI race. An AI president could manage the economy with a level of precision that counters inflation and fosters growth, develop national security strategies that anticipate threats before they emerge, and negotiate with other countries using game theory to achieve the best possible outcomes. It would be the ultimate chess master on the world stage, always thinking dozens of moves ahead of its human counterparts. Now, let's flip the coin, because the downsides are just as massive, if not more so. The biggest concern is the complete lack of human empathy and understanding. A president does more than just analyze data. They comfort a nation after a tragedy, inspire hope during difficult times, and understand the human cost of their decisions. Could an AI truly grasp the grief of a family who lost their home? Could it understand the importance of a cultural tradition that, on paper, looks inefficient? A machine that makes decisions based on pure logic might conclude that a struggling arts program is a waste of money, failing to see the joy and community it brings. Leadership requires a heart, not just a processor. Accountability is another nightmare. If an AI president makes a disastrous decision that leads to economic collapse or an unjust war, who is to blame? Do you put a computer program on trial? Is it the fault of the coders who wrote its initial programming, or the company that built it? A human leader can be impeached, voted out of office, and held responsible by the public. An AI has no career to end, no reputation to ruin, and no family to face. This lack of a buck stops here figurehead is a fundamental problem. As experts in Axios have noted, even in corporations, assigning responsibility for AI failures is a huge challenge. Imagine that problem scaled up to the level of a nation. Then there is the very real danger of bias and security flaws. An AI is only as good as the data it's trained on. If that data reflects historical injustices or societal biases, the AI will learn them and apply them with ruthless efficiency, creating a systemically unfair government. We also have to consider security. Hackers, or even a rival nation, could try to poison the AI's training data or find a vulnerability in its code, essentially hijacking the country from within. Time magazine has reported on these very risks, with experts warning about AI model poisoning. An AI president could become the single most catastrophic single point of failure in human history. Finally, we have to ask if people would ever accept it. Trust is the foundation of any government. Would citizens trust a machine they can't understand or relate to? As religious leaders like those cited by Time have pointed out, there are deep ethical and even spiritual questions at play. Would an AI leader uphold human dignity? Or would it see people as just numbers in an equation? The potential for mass job displacement as AI optimizes every industry would also create massive social unrest. People might fear, and rightly so, that they are being ruled by an unfeeling, unaccountable entity that they had no real part in choosing, turning the promise of a perfect leader into the reality of a perfect dictator. So, where does that leave us? On one hand, the idea of a perfectly rational, efficient, and tireless leader is incredibly appealing. An AI president could potentially solve some of our most complex problems, from climate change to economic inequality, with a logic and speed that humans simply cannot match. It promises a government free from corruption, ego, and the petty squabbles that so often paralyze our political systems. The potential to create a fairer and more prosperous society by removing human error from the equation is a powerful argument in favor of this futuristic concept. It's the ultimate technocratic dream, a government run like a flawless machine. On the other hand, the risks are monumental and touch upon the very essence of what it means to be human. The absence of empathy, the crisis of accountability, and the immense dangers of algorithmic bias and security vulnerabilities could lead to a dystopian reality. A leader must be more than a supercomputer. They must be a source of inspiration, comfort, and moral guidance. The nuanced, compassionate, and sometimes illogical nature of human judgment is not always a flaw. Often, it is a feature that allows for mercy, creativity, and a deep understanding of the human condition. We cannot afford to outsource our collective soul to a machine. Looking at the current state of affairs on June 18, 2025, it's clear we are not ready for an AI president, and perhaps we never should be. While nations like the United States and South Korea are integrating AI into their strategic planning, their focus is on using it as a tool, not as a replacement for human leadership. This seems to be the most sensible path forward. AI can be an incredible advisor, a digital partner that can analyze data, run simulations, and offer policy recommendations to human leaders. It can handle the complex, data-heavy tasks, freeing up humans to focus on the things that require empathy, ethical judgment, and a connection with the people they serve. Ultimately, the future of governance will likely be a hybrid model. AI will become an indispensable assistant in the halls of power, much like computers and the internet are today. It will augment human intelligence, not replace it. The goal should not be to build a silicon president, but to build better tools that help our human leaders make wiser, more informed, and more compassionate decisions. The final choice, the moral responsibility, and the human touch must always remain in our hands. After all, a government should be of the people and for the people, not of the algorithm and for the optimal outcome.